week 7 of the fantasy baseball season, and here's a few hitters I look to sell and trade this week. The first hitter, Brent Rooker of the Oakland Athletics. So Rooker, he's come out of nowhere once again after he got off to a slow start last year. I know he hit 30 home runs, was Rooker, 69 RBIs with a 246 average, but he started off this season slow, but the last couple weeks here, he's really picked it up on the year. 10 home runs, 27 RBIs, 20 runs scored, a 292 average, 2 stolen bases, and a great 380 on base. So Rooker, he's got the power, no doubt about it. I think that's legit for Rooker, but the batting average and on-base percentage, I think, are going to drop off sooner than later, because this A team, we know they don't have a lot of great hitters in the lineup, and teams, they're going to start attacking Rooker a little bit differently as the weeks go on. So the last 2 weeks, 5 homers, 14 ribs, 2 stolen bases, 13 runs scored, a 409 average, and a 500 on base. So these numbers obviously aren't sustainable. He's getting multiple hit games. The last 4 out of 5 games is Rooker. I would sell him high and see what you could get. May 8th versus the Rangers in a doubleheader, 5 for 9, a homer, 3 RBIs, 4 runs scored. May 10th at the Mariners, 1 for 4. May 11th at Mariners, 2 for 4, run, a rib, a stolen base. May 12th at the Mariners, 2 for 4, a homer, 2 RBIs. And May 13th at Houston, 2 for 3 with a run. So Rooker, he's playing great baseball. He's showing pop. Batting average, on-base percentage is way up there. But I just don't see it keeping up. And like I said, the A's don't have a lot of great hitters in this lineup here, where teams are going to start attacking Rooker different, or he's not even going to see a lot of good pitches to hit. So he's a sell-high hitter this week. The next hitter, Brandon Nimmo with the New York Mets. So Brandon Nimmo, he's having a solid year in terms of home runs and RBIs for a leadoff hitter, but another guy I just don't think it's going to stick all season. His batting average is down there at 234. He's always been a good on-base guy, 379 with 6 homers, 27 RBIs, 21 runs scored, 2 stolen bases, the 234 average, and the 379 on base. But the last couple weeks, he's been white hot, 4 home runs, 10 RBIs, 7 runs scored, a 316 average, and a 435 on base. So right here, Brandon Nimmo, he's been a solid player for this Met team over the last few seasons. But I just don't buy he's going to keep these elite numbers up in terms of RBIs and even the power for the most part. I know last season he went 24 and 68 is Nimmo, but to have 27 RBIs this early in the year as a leadoff hitter is pretty impressive, obviously. But Nimmo, the on base, I think is going to drop off. Like I said, the average, yes, could go up a little bit for him, but besides that, I don't see much happening for Nimmo, where he's a sell-high player this week, because this Met team, their offense is inconsistent. And Nimmo, he's had his peaks and valleys as well, where he'll have a slump and then he'll get hot and then do nothing for a couple weeks. So he's a sell-high hitter this week. May 7th at the Cardinals, 1 for 4, home with 3 RBIs. May 10th versus the Braves, 1 for 4. May 11th versus the Braves, 0 for 1. May 12th versus Atlanta, 1 for 1 with a walk-off homer and 2 RBIs. And May 13th versus Philly, 0 for 4. So right now, since Nimmo's got the power stroke and the RBIs going over the last 2 weeks here, he's a sell-high hitter this week. The next hitter, Jeremy Pena of the Houston Astros. So Jeremy Pena, last season was a down year for him. After in 2022, it was a solid year. So last year he finished with 10, 52, 13 stolen bases, a 263 average, and a 324 on base. But so far this year, he's been a hit machine. Home runs, 16 RBIs, 25 runs scored, 6 home bases, a 340 average, and a 384 on base. So right now he's playing over his head is Jeremy Pena. We know shortstop's a weak position in fantasy baseball, and I believe you could get a decent starting pitcher in a deal for Pena, because he's not going to show much pop. He could steal, 15, 20 bases, maybe a little bit more. And over the last couple weeks, one of the best hitters in fantasy baseball. 1 home run, 5 RBIs, 10 runs scored, 2 stolen bases, a 386 average, and a 450 on base. He's going out there. He's got a good eye at the plate. He's in a main spot in this lineup with guys like Tucker and Alvarez batting cleanup or batting second usually in that area is Pena. May 9th at the Yankees, 2 for 3, a run, an RBI, a stolen base. May 10th at the Tigers, 2 for 4, an RBI. May 11th at the Tigers, 2 for 3, a run. May 12th at the Tigers, 1 for 5. And May 13th versus the A's, 1 for 4 with 2 runs. So he's playing good baseball as Pena. He's in the middle of the lineup, but I just don't see him keeping it up that in one off season he's going to go way up there in batting average after he was at the Mendoza line the majority of the season in the first half. And then in the second half, no doubt about it, he bounced back. But like I said, since he's a shortstop and he's playing over his head right now, I think you can get a good starter in a deal. The next hitter, Bryson Scott of the Philadelphia Phillies. He's the one hitter on this list where I'm going to have to get a lot in a deal here to trade Stott. I know his home run numbers aren't great, but he does a little bit of everything, and he's a proven batting average and on-base guy on the season. 4 home runs, 25 RBIs, 23 runs scored, 10 stolen bases, a 270 average and a 370 on base. But the last couple weeks here, he's been one of the hottest hitters in the league. 1 home run, 11 RBIs, 6 stolen bases, 11 runs scored, a 400 average, and a 535 on base. So obviously those are out of this world type of numbers here for Bryson Stott, and I just don't see it holding up. I know this Philly team, one of the best teams, if not the best team right now in the National League, but between them and the Los Angeles Dodgers is close, and Stott, he's been a big part of it, batting 5th to 6th usually. May 8th versus the Jays, 1 for 2, a run, 2 RBIs. May 11th at the Marlins, 2 for 5, a run, 4 RBIs. May 12th at Miami, 2 for 2 with a run, 2 stolen bases. And May 13th at the Mets, big ball game in that one, including a homer off Edwin Diaz in the ninth, 2 for 4, a homer, 2 RBIs, and 2 runs scored. So Bryson Stott, he's playing great baseball. Him obviously being a second baseman, and he's a great player, no doubt about it, just playing a little bit over his head. You got to get a great deal in this deal just to sell him. I wouldn't sell him just for anything. And matter of fact, I wouldn't sell any of these players just for anything. It's got to be a fair deal, obviously, but Bryson Stott is the one in this video the most. I would try to sell for a nice price, and the 5th and final hitter I look to sell and trade this week's Max Kepler of the Minnesota Twins. So Kepler, a former top prospects many seasons ago, obviously in this Minnesota Twin system, but he just never panned out for those monster years besides 1 year for Kepler. Last year, pretty decent year, but it wasn't a huge season. 24, 66, 72 runs scored, a stolen base, a 260 average, and a 332 on base. But so far this year, that batting average and on base has ballooned way up there. 3 home runs, 17 RBIs, 13 runs scored, a 325 average, and a 380 on base. But the last 2 weeks here, 2 homers, 10 ribs, a stolen base, 9 runs scored, a 409 average, and a 460 on base. So those numbers aren't characteristic here for Max Kepler. I know he changed his approach a little bit in the offseason, and they moved him to 4th in this lineup here, where he was a leadoff guy for a few seasons as Kepler. So May 8th versus Seattle, 1 for 4 in RBI. May 9th versus Seattle, 2 for 4, a homer, 2 ribs, 2 runs scored. May 10th at the Jays, 1 for 1 with an RBI. And May 11th at Toronto, 2 for 5, a run. And May 12th at the Jays, 1 for 4, a run, 2 RBI. So Kepler is playing great baseball. He's driving the baseball. He's getting multiple hit games the last 2 out of 4 games. No doubt about it, he's playing great, but he's another guy I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop, where he's a mediocre fantasy player at best, and the batting average drops as well. So right now, another thing is Kepler, he don't verse a lot of lefties, where he's going to sit maybe a couple times a week as well. So that's a few hitters I look to sell and trade for week 7 of the fantasy baseball season.